Welcome to another episode of Uncle B and me, Top G. And this is episode 6. I'm excited to get into it. And we're going to talk about everything from the latest Trump election, or should I say American-US election, where Trump has just clinched the US presidency, right to Chinese vehicles and everything else in between. I'm excited for this one.
Everybody's been asking, what does that mean for us? What does it mean for our economy? Is it good, bad, or ugly? I'm very biased, so I've got huge opinions
about the Trump election.
Yeah, and I wanna pick your brain. Short term, medium term, long term. It's confirmed. It's definitely Trump. How does it look for us? Short term, medium term, and long term. And how does it affect our industry? Because China being a prominent player, we just went through some stats. 36% of finance vehicles through Standard Bank are Chinese vehicles.
That's a third.
It's a third. You had a stat of around 12 or 15% it was, that
market share
that they took, and slowly climbing up to 25%. Will they achieve it? Is this a big obstacle in their road? Because we all know Trump is not a fan. There was an incident in in one of the factories in Mexico. They were building the biggest manufacturing plant on the planet. I don't know if you heard that.
No.
So the biggest manufacturing plant on the planet is probably 55-60% completed. And about 2 months ago, Trump said that if he becomes president, he will impose tariffs of 100, 200, 300, 2,000% if he has to make sure that no Chinese cars get sold in the US. He gave that as a concrete statement. About 2 or 3 days later, a press release came out to say that the Chinese have actually stopped the building of the plant. So he had that much influence, and they believed that he would win. That's why they said, okay, let's stop and see what happens. So he won. How will that tariff affect Chinese vehicle sales there? And off camera, we quickly spoke about the tariffs in Europe. How will that European tariff affect strategy for the Chinese cars, and what will that do to our market?
So there's a lot of questions in there, but I'll try and backtrack and remember from the first one.
Okay.
Firstly, the US election.
Yes.
Trump will always be good for America.
Yes.
And worse for the rest of the world. So in the short term.
In the short term.
In the short term, in my opinion. He will be good for America and bad for the rest of the world in the short term. And the reason I say this is because he puts America first.
True believer.
And he's got a track record. His previous presidency proved it. Okay, he's got a track record of doing that. Okay, so he's doing the right thing for his country.
Yeah.
In his opinion. Okay.
Yeah.
But perhaps in the long run, the Republican win is good for the rest of the world and good for South Africa.
Okay.
Because it's no secret that Trump wants and realizes that good trade relationships are important for America's success too.
Yeah.
All he wants is that every country in the world pays its way.
Yeah.
The example is NATO.
Yes.
When in his previous presidency, example is NATO. So what did he do? He didn't. Everybody, he's going to abolish NATO. He's going to pull out of NATO as America. He didn't do that. And what's happening today? Every other NATO member is actually paying their due and fair share to NATO. So that's all he's done. He's leveled the playing fields for the American people. And I think that is painful in the short term because he will undo all of the things that have been done to disproportionately disadvantage the United States. But I think he is very aware that America's not another planet on another in the solar system. America's actually part of this planet.
Part of Earth, yeah.
And it's part of Earth. And I think he's very, very acutely aware of that.
Okay, I've got a question. If you are the president of China right now, what's your feeling?
I'd be afraid.
Why?
Because in the short term, trade relations are going to be hurt.
What about Russia?
I'd be careful.
Careful.
Yes.
Why do you think?
Because Trump is not the... I don't think he is the gung-ho, loose cannon that everybody thought he might have been.
Yeah, agree.
He's proven to be quite level-headed in negotiations. The man is not a successful businessman for nothing.
Absolutely.
So I think he wants to avoid wars. And in that avoidance of wars, there's a popular saying. You've probably heard it. Keep your friends close.
Yeah.
Keep your enemies closer.
Yeah.
And that's his stance. He will bring his enemies very, very close. And that doesn't mean pulling the wool over their eyes or lying to them. He'll be very direct with them, but he will play for his team.
I agree. I think as the Chinese government at the moment, they want a weak negotiator. They want a person that can be manipulated, and pulling the wool over their eyes was, I think, the Biden administration, or historically what's happened and what's been allowed, because it's been crazy. It's been absolutely... We had a discussion a couple of days ago, and the conclusion is very simple. If, as a president candidate, you have to say to your country that if you elect me, I will no longer allow men and women's sports, then you've completely failed, and the people are sick and tired, and they've had enough. Now, it's an immediate switch. It's a 180-degree turn, and all of a sudden you've got this charismatic guy that is a trifecta. So he's built a massive business empire, proven track record, in probably one of the most difficult places to navigate at the time, which he did.
Which was New York City.
Yeah, New York City. All the crime families that were involved there, the amount of corruption. And
well, New York was on the verge of collapse
Yes.
when he entered New York City.
Yes. And
Because he was in Queens with his dad, right?
Yes, that's right.
And he went across the bay.
100%. To be able to navigate that environment with the skill set that he has and keep peace.
No wonder he's got Dana White.
100%. Did you see that?
Yes.
Dana White and Elon next to him. That's a cool picture. I screenshotted it off Elon Musk's X post.
Now, you look at what he's built. You look at what Dana White has built in the UFC. You look at what Elon Musk has built, and you start to realize that he's surrounded himself with people that are not built in fantasy land.
Yeah.
Whereas actors and celebrities are in fantasy land.
100%. You've taught me a saying that, sorry to interrupt you, I hope it sticks with everyone. Are you living in a house built of cards, a house of cards?
House of cards.
And every time I try and do an upgrade or a system change or anything in our business, I ask myself, first question, I promise you in my mind, it's stuck with me. Is this a house of cards? Will it collapse if we start to, and that's the celebrities are house of cards. It's not real.
Yeah.
It's not, there's no brick and mortar.
It's fantasy land.
You can't touch it.
Yes, it's art and it is of value because people like watching, fantasies and all that stuff. But it's a little carve out of fantasy land, and whereas Elon Musk, Dana White have built real physical world businesses.
Yes.
And Donald Trump.
And now you have to sit across the table with someone like that. Another very interesting dynamic for me is, first time around, he was never a politician, so successful media person, built up a big time show. I think 17 years number one, The Apprentice, 12 or 17. I'm not.
They were in the teens number of seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Call it 12, and In the one interview I watched, he went to Washington 17 times during his campaigning period. And it wasn't to visit the White House. He was actually building a hotel.
Yes, I heard this.
Across from the White House. So he's not a politician. He comes in there, lots of deceit, lots of games. Everyone says to him, tap on the shoulder, you're the guy, you're the main person, but everyone's playing games because they're in it for a long term. A president may only sit for 8 years. So, you're going to be here a while. We're going to be here. We are seasoned long-term players that will be here for 40 years. So everyone's playing a game. I think this time around, he knows the games. He understands the games.
He's much wiser.
And it's legacy time, boy.
Yeah.
I think he's going to say, I came in, I fixed everything. We took care of China. That's my favorite thing that he says. I fixed everything. We had a great economy. We had a great nation. We built good relationships with Russia, with everyone. And you guys messed it up. And his legacy, I think, will be, I'm going to make it even better than it was. Which short term, I agree with you, might be bad for the rest.
Yes, it'll hurt. But what is the effect on South Africa? Okay, because you got to bring it home. I mean, in the US election for us is far away. To be honest with you, I'm slightly indifferent. But unless it directly impacts South Africa,
I think it does.
No, it does. Yeah, I'd love to hear your angle. Okay. But how does it directly impact South Africa? In my mind, in the short term, because in the long term, I think it'll be good for the planet.
Yes.
But in the short term, how does it affect South Africa? So he's going to obviously increase trade tariffs. He's going to ensure that America manufactures more in America.
Yes.
Right. So all of the other countries, I mean, we talk about China all the time. China's an important and a key player in the world, the biggest economy in the world, right? So all of the other players, India, China, anybody that supplies anything to the United States has now got an economic problem because America is the second biggest economy in the world.
Yes.
For the moment. So now they've got a demand problem because demand will fall off for their products and commodities.
Yeah.
So what will happen? What do you do as a business when you're blocked into a particular market? You look for another market.
Yeah.
So now what will China do? China will focus on the other countries in the world in the short term because, unless they can get their product into the United States. Africa and South Africa is one of those markets. Okay. So we sit as South Africa in a very unique negotiating position as a result of the United States with countries like China or whoever else is negatively impacted by the new Trump administration. And that is, those countries are going to now want to look at us as an alternate market. So what do we do as trade negotiators to make sure that South Africa now doesn't necessarily block or copy the US administration? So what do we do that is best for our economy in this situation? Take advantage of the situation rather than demonize what America's doing or try copy it. What do we do? Do we apply tariffs for different countries at different rates? Because at the moment, an import tariff on a car, to my knowledge, is a single number at 18%.
Yeah.
And 25% for EVs.
Yes.
Okay. So
yes.
Do we negotiate different tariffs depending on the trade negotiations and the value that country can add? How do we go about taking this US election and playing it to our best advantage?
Very difficult question because where do we have leverage? Is it only this current moment that we find ourselves in where Trump will impose fearlessly because they have natural resources? They can pretty much self-sustain.
Yeah.
Do we have leverage over...
Well, we have natural resources. We keep bloody selling it.
Yeah. And yeah, we had an argument in the office.
So is that our leverage?
Well, in our office, literally 20 minutes ago, there's like literally bets of 100 Rand in a hat in my cap. that Eskom will belong to the Chinese in 10 years.
Oh, goodness.
So that's how much leverage, car salespeople think we have, which is very little. So who do we send to go and do those negotiations? Are those people...
Musk. We make him South African again.
Yeah.
I doubt it in his position at the moment.
Yeah. So very, very, very interesting to see, number one, what are his first 3 moves, what are his first 5 moves, and then the knock-on effect will obviously be felt with us. I believe, first of all, rates, I think they're meeting next week. Rates will go down.
Interest rates.
Yeah, interest rates. Well, so as soon as they go down in America, we'll follow suit. I don't think they'll go down more than 25 points in the States now. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, it remains to be seen what happens after the Trump administration now. But, I mean, he's only getting inaugurated in January. So right now it's still a Democratic Party government. But irrespective of interest rates in our country, whether they go down 25 basis points, 50 basis points, or 100 basis points, it has to go down significantly to impact the repayment on a car. If interest rates go down by 0.25% next month, it's a very, very small amount. I mean, fuel prices have just gone up that negate that entirely.
Yeah.
So something else has to happen in order to bring car prices down. New car prices, I mean. Used car prices will be based on supply and demand. But something else has to happen to bring new car prices down and more lucrative. And overnight now with the Trump election, the rand has weakened.
Yes, it has.
So 17.50, it was in a good place.
17.80, I think it was this morning.
17, yeah. And it's starting to weaken.
Bitcoin has shot up.
Well, I mean, Bitcoin, I think, is its own beast.
Yeah. I don't know if we have strong enough negotiators to really put them in the corner.
Negotiators or negotiating power? Do you think so? Because I think there's 2 sides to negotiation. If you're playing poker, you've got a strong hand, and then you've got a poker face. So you've got strong negotiating power, or a strong negotiator, poker face. Do we have a strong hand?
Do you think we have a strong hand?
I think we have a strong hand because we've got natural resources. So I think we've got a strong hand with natural resources. What us as a country need to do is bring more manufacture of goods and services onto our shores. We've got to try and negotiate. So I think we've got a strongish hand, and especially if we play well with the rest of Africa. Because if we play well with the rest of Africa and we can negotiate bringing manufacture onto our shores, cars, goods and services, electronics, onto our shores, then I think our economy will...
Will we need to go and readjust policies, like, for example, the BEE policy? One of the reasons why we could not get... Musk's internet in South Africa. Will we go and have to relook at policies like that in order to attract that lucrative big business to the country?
No, I think Starlink was an isolated event, and because Musk is Musk, I don't think the majority of big businesses who want to invest in a country think about it quite so black and white.
Okay.
It's I think you can work within those policies.
I agree. Because not all bad.
Yes.
It's actually that's pro South Africa.
Yes.
It's if you want to do business in our country, there are certain rules that you have to adhere to. You have to employ local people. You have to share the wealth. That whether or not the execution is correct, we are not to judge.
Well, it's just you're always going to get unscrupulous individuals who use the system in a way that it wasn't designed
Yes,
to be
agreed,
used.
agreed.
There's the example is at the moment, artificial intelligence apparently is the size of an entire artificial intelligence cybercrime
Mm-hmm.
is the size of an entire economy.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
how much crime is happening now using AI.
Wow.
So when something good comes along, like transformation,
There's always
there's
going to be-
always some idiot
Yeah.
that comes and gives it a bad name.
Yeah.
And doesn't apply it and use it for the purposes that it was designed to be used. So I think that's kind of the push pull. I think Starlink is an isolated outlier because he's got the power in the world to say no.
Yes, he does. And he's very isolated because he's almost a single decision-making
Correct.
entity that controls
Yes,
governments.
exactly.
Very, very interesting.
And now he's got influence over the second biggest economy in the world.
Yes.
Not only has he got SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink, Grok AI, now he's into the presidency.
Yes.
Here's a prediction.
Tell me.
Whether I'm right, I am no political analyst.
Okay.
At all. Okay. This is a layman's prediction. Chess pieces. JD Vance.
I like him a lot.
I like him a lot.
Very intelligent.
Trump can't be president for another term.
Yes.
They're setting JD Vance up
To take over.
to take over. Okay. So I think move number one. 1 term, 2 terms, maybe.
For JD Vance.
If everything goes right. So it'll be potentially a 3-term Republican period.
Okay.
Okay. JD Vance 2, Trump 1, 3 terms. That takes us to 12 years.
Yes.
Right. It wouldn't surprise me if Musk isn't being set up, or even himself setting himself up for the US presidency at the end of that.
Can he though? Can he though? I
He's
think
not born in America.
He's not born in America.
Good point.
Yeah. I don't think
Maybe
he
he
can.
can't. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he can. But
Or to be a very, very, very high-ranking part.
of the presidency.
Of the
I
presidency.
fully agree. I think that the challenge that they'll sit with now is enemy number one is Elon Musk. Enemy number one. Because essentially...
Well, he's protected now, right? Because he's in the presidency.
Yeah, but you've got the opposition that now the same tricks and tactics that were used on Trump, I think, are going to be
Be
thrown
used at him.
big time, amplified.
Yeah.
He won't be able to... If he like spits his chappy out on the road, it will be all over the
It'll be handcuffs.
Yes, it will be handcuffs and you go to jail. We're gonna
You know that I think they do that in Singapore. Did that in Singapore?
Yes, for even jaywalking.
Yeah, jaywalking. You get locked up.
So I think you're 100% correct. They'll probably do this term 2 more. I think Trump is out of the firing line for now because it is what it is. He's going to be there for 4 years.
Yeah, I think people have started to accept that there's no more ammo in the. Although I watched a podcast the other day about them not accepting the vote.
Like US says, we're not accepting this win.
The Democrats not accepting the win and trying some other tactics. Apparently, there are paths.
Interesting.
So it might get interesting over the next couple of days, because they're not going to want to accept it. That's why I think if Trump wants to seal it, he has to win the Electoral College, which he has.
Yes.
He has to win the popular vote, and he has to win the Senate.
Yeah, I think he will.
And if he gets all 3 of those, their chances of disputing becomes very low.
We're sitting in a studio doing a podcast, chatting about current topics, and 5-10 years ago, this wouldn't have been as popular and get as many views across platforms. And looking at the strategy that he used versus the strategy of the opposition. Mainstream media, we control the news, we control the narrative, which they do. We have, I think, 177 billionaires backing us, who fund us, who push this agenda, which is, it's an agenda from both sides. So Trump is brainwashing you. Everybody's brainwashing you. Do you think after this election, the way that elections are won in the future are on platforms like this? And by no means are we comparing ourselves to the size of the states, but do you think South Africa follows suit going forward, or will we still remain behind, traditional, this is how it's always been done? Will platforms like this influence us as much as, because I think it's totally predicted the direction, especially Joe Rogan. I think Joe Rogan's podcast with Trump was, in my opinion, if it was 50-50, it jumped to 55-45.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think there's always a place for mainstream media.
For sport.
Maybe for sport. And it's been going in this direction for the last decade. So
I agree, 10 years, yeah.
So if I just had to unemotionally look at the direction it's been going in, not only politics, but also everything else, from opinions on sport to covering the latest news cycle, is breaking more on social media platforms than on mainstream media channels. So I think as time goes on, it is going that way. So then you've got to ask yourself, well, why? And I think it's because it's less curated, it's less filtered, and the general population want that. They want the downside to social media is that up to now, you didn't know what was fake news and what was real news. So that's why there's still a place for mainstream media, is because hopefully, and Trump doesn't trust mainstream media to the degree that other people do, but I think social media was plagued with fake news, propaganda. And if we can get rid of that, which Musk is doing with X, you've got the verified part of the platform. If that can happen, then I think what you're suggesting, the next set of elections in whatever country will be covered more by podcasters, social media, general people, than it will be by mainstream media, if the fake news can just get the hell off these platforms.
Yeah. Because I think mainstream is, you just follow the money, reverse engineer.
Yes.
What are the 5 or 6 ads that are being shown during this program? Okay, who do they actually fund?
Yeah.
They fund this. Okay, this is the narrative that's being pushed here.
Exactly. So, and that takes a long time to overturn. But it's happening. I think it's happening. I mean, look at Joe Rogan.
Beast. Absolutely.
And he sits and just has a conversation.
Yeah. I think very similar to Trump, he has been bombarded with accusations he's been thrown with everything. And he just remained calm, okay, and he carried on, and he carried on, and he carried on. This is my intention, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, I've got an opinion, this is my opinion. And he's not scared to go and change his opinion. Well, based off these 4 facts,
I'll change my mind.
And my position is no longer this one, it's now this one.
Yes. Boom. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing wrong with that, as long as you say, I'm changing my mind.
Yeah. 100%.
And don't make as if your previous statements were unsaid.
Do you think Chinese cars get to 25% of our market?
Yes. If nothing changes.
Really? If nothing changes?
If nothing changes.
Why would you say that?
Chinese, so let's start off with the quality of Chinese cars. Chinese cars are as good as the general motor vehicle out there. Okay. Historically, we viewed, as a society outside of China, we viewed Chinese products and goods as cheap copies.
Yes.
When you bought something that said made in China on it,
It's Hong Kong.
it's Hong Kong. It was cheap copy.
Yeah.
Okay. That is no longer largely true. The Chinese actually make good products. And I mean, I have a philosophy: if you are not the best, copy the best.
Okay.
Everybody does it. Why do we demonize the Chinese for doing it?
I've got an opinion, but I would love to know what yours is. Have the Japanese car makers sort of viewed the Chinese car manufacturers as nonchalant and Hong Kongs for a long enough period that they actually not only fell behind, but they're playing catch up where momentum is so lost, it's very difficult to play catch up. I'm going to just speak openly. Take Mazda, for example. Just sold a Mazda CX-3 2024 model.
Nothing wrong with the car.
Nothing wrong with the car. But it's the same car that we sold 10 years ago. So the engine hasn't evolved. The tech hasn't evolved. The fuel consumption hasn't gotten better. The design hasn't gotten better. It's the same car. There's no Apple CarPlay. There is no reversing, bird's eye view camera system. It's the same car. It's a good car. It hasn't evolved. It stayed behind. And I think now it's going to be very hard for them because market share, I mean, Mazda dealerships I'm speaking to my friends, they're in trouble. They're not selling nearly as many units as they need to keep their doors open.
Which means go buy Mazda, because you're going to get a good car for its price point.
Well, what else can you get for that price point?
Well, you can get a Chinese vehicle.
You can get a Chinese vehicle. Is the warranty longer?
Yes.
Okay. Is the service plan similar?
Yes.
Have they built out the network?
Some of those Chinese vehicles have unlimited,
1 million for the first owner, though. That's very important.
which is unlimited.
Yeah.
Effectively. Who gets to 1 million kilometers? Maybe.
Yeah, without potholes, not many cars make it to 1 million.
But let's finish the thought on will the Chinese market penetration in South Africa get to 25% for
Yes.
automotive
Yes.
vehicles? Okay. So the products aren't bad.
No.
Okay. In many instances, they're not to the standard of German engineering.
Not the same price either.
Yes, not the same price either. But it does reflect in the price point, as you say.
Yes.
Right? So the technology in the Chinese vehicles are at par, if not better,
Agree on most cars.
on most of their cars.
Yeah.
Okay. And in a depressed economy like ours, in a difficult economy like ours, not a depressed economy, in a difficult economy, price to value is always going to win.
Yeah.
Always going to win. People aren't going to overpay for luxury to the detriment of their wallet.
Never.
They're going to pay lower if the quality's good.
Yeah.
And that's the intersection of the Chinese vehicle. But it does come with a caveat, I think. And you mentioned it before we started the podcast, in that when market share dominance is achieved by Chinese vehicles, will the Chinese pull the subsidies?
100%. So rumor, and this is not verified, and this is, I've got like 6 or 7 tinfoil hats all over the studio, but if I put one on.
If the government subsidies even exist, because we don't see those government subsidies.
So rumor has it that they do, and it's anywhere between 50 to 100,000 rand on a vehicle, 50 on the lower end, 100,000 on the very high end. Once the tinfoil hat, once the 5-year period is reached and a certain percentage marker has been achieved, when that gets pulled back, then they have to compete on quality, and they have
yeah.
to compete on track record, not only on price, because the price will adjust. Will they be able to maintain that competitive advantage if the price was similar to a Kia or for example, a German brand? Will they be able to compete? And the question is, we don't know, because they also have 5 years to evolve.
Yeah.
So what will the product look like in another 2 or 3 years?
Okay, can I put in a spin on the second-hand vehicle market in that scenario?
Yeah.
So let's say there's no more subsidies for Chinese vehicles. Let's say, as a tinfoil hat, that they do exist. Okay.
Yeah.
And then suddenly this subsidy goes away. Right. Now you've bought a Chinese vehicle at 400,000 Rand.
Yeah.
New versions of that car in a couple of years' time come in higher price point.
460, 470.
460, 470. What happens to the second-hand market?
Depends. That model
Gets buoyant,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Has that model evolved so much, or is it very similar? If it's similar, man.
Second-hand vehicle market's going to be a good place to
Yes. Yes.
be. Because suddenly the price of a new one is so much higher than the price of a second-hand one.
But that's again a temporary win.
Yeah, it's a temporary win, but it's a cycle. And if
Yeah.
if you can recognize it as a car dealer, you can recognize that moment,
Well,
and you
now
go and
we can.
buy all of the flipping makes and models that are in that environment.
Well, now we can, because of all the hard work you've been doing on the back end of Autotrader's website.
Exactly.
Because we can actually recognize the patterns with cost to market and all the
And market day supply and price to market.
Yeah,
Exactly.
price to market. Sorry.
Yes. Yes. All those metrics will very quickly, especially rate of sale, will very quickly help you to see a scenario like this happening. All you need to do is watch those metrics in the back end of Autotrader, as well as the new car prices for a similar model. And when you see that gap start developing, start buying those vehicles.
Immediately, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting times. I'm glued to my screen, like literally watching minute by minute, what is he going to say? Because I'm used to, Trump just blabbering something, and then the market goes either up or crashes down. And he hasn't been doing that. He said nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that's scary, nothing. He just said, when I become president-elect, I will sit with Putin. We will end the war. Middle East is going to be calm. I want the killings to stop. Both my father's brothers live in Russia. And I've got cousins who I've met when I was a youngster. And the one cousin is, I think, 3 years younger than me, works at a bank, accountant, married, has a daughter. But the 18 to 25-year-olds in his community that grew up around my uncle, he calls them kids. He knows of 8 young boys that have died in the war. So your name comes up, you have no choice.
You go.
You have to go and fight. And I picked this up from the podcast with Elon Musk and Joe Rogan. He explained it perfectly. He said, the war in the Ukraine currently is young men, young boys killing each other who don't know each other over the problems that old men have with each other who have met each other. So I think the moment that stops and the instability in the Middle East stops, then people can focus on how do we move on from here, learn from our mistakes. Hopefully, I'm tinfoil hat on, and I'm pro peace and pro humanity, and we can actually start trading with each other and start developing relationships where economies grow.
Let's move the war into the capitalist environment and onto the sports field.
Yeah.
That's where we can have war.
Wage the war, gloves off, but there.
In those two environments, those two arenas. And then if you really want to get bloody, go to UFC.
Yeah. They know what's waiting for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you feel like
100%.
getting beaten up, go to UFC.
Yeah, good.
You had another question earlier on, and that was Japanese vehicles
Yes.
and the quality. Okay. I think China has been on a drive over decades, likely, to make its products and innovate and become equal to the quality of the rest of the world. Maybe realizing that the rest of the world sees their products as Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Okay. So, government involvement, all the right ingredients in order to get their country to produce better quality product. When you're there and you're producing a high quality product, it's very easy to get complacent.
Agree.
Then the system starts to work against you.
Yeah.
And has that happened to Japanese vehicles?
Well, yes.
High quality, high standards, wrong strategic decision, no pressure from competition
For
for a long period of time. So you change generations, and the current generation that runs those organizations doesn't really understand the bloody fight and the battle you have to go through in order to produce quality and to stay ahead. And so on the changing of the guard, the next guard doesn't get it because they're not in the ring. They haven't been fighting. They're not getting bloody.
One thing about Chinese vehicles is, I've never been, but speaking to people who have you visited China before?
No.
Not yet.
I've been invited by Cherry, and hopefully I'll go.
Okay. So internally, the consumption is predominantly locally made product, Chinese product. So the BYDs, et cetera. So it just came to me. I've got a lot of Jewish friends, and there's a similar state of mind. So the Jewish community that I know will do business with each other, and when something is wrong, Indian community is very similar, but not to the level that I've seen with the Jewish community. When something is wrong with a product, instead of going outwards and never doing business with the other person again, they'll come and tell you, listen, I bought XYZ from you. It's faulty. You need to fix it. The next time around, when it's time to buy that product or service, I'll go back to you and I'll buy it from you again. Have you fixed it? Yes. Okay, cool. Where, generally South Africans,
Well, generally people in the world.
will be like, no, this product's not good. Jump ship. So I think what China has done is maybe taken it from
Similar principle.
and said, okay, from now on, we only consume our own product. So we built Huawei, and we're going to push Huawei. Yeah, but it's a shit phone. Okay, for now it is, yes. So what are some of the flaws where we can improve and get as good as iPhone? Well, the camera, this, that, the third thing, software, stability, etc. Eventually, over 5 years and lots of testing and lots of here on the ground, this is wrong, that is wrong. It's impossible not to be as good as this. It will be as good as this, and it will be made there, so it will be cheaper.
Well, most iPhones get made in China.
Yes.
You think they're not stealing the ideas, the way it's built, and the technology?
100%. But are most iPhones sold in China? And the answer is no.
Yeah.
The rest of the world consumes.
Yes.
And why is it made in China? Well, and this is another analogy. It's like a referral system. It made so much sense when I heard it. If I'm going to be giving you referrals, let's say, for example, I sell cars, you sell homes, and we meet at a function. What do? I sell homes. I'm the main guy in, let's say, Sandton. I sell cars. I'm the main guy in Pretoria. Okay, you send me a lead. Send me another lead. You send me another lead. 5 leads, 10 leads. I send you one. in 5 years, you've sent me 5,000 leads. I've sent you 50. Well, I'm at a deficit. You're going to be like, bro, I sent you like thousands of leads. You've sent me 50. I think that's what's happening to China, because everybody's sending them leads. Everything gets manufactured there, but they don't outsource anything. Eventually, people are like, no, if you want me to send you leads, you have to do this.
Well, that's what America's going, the route it's going down right now.
100%. That's the interesting part. And I think with the cars especially, the last 10 years, they have really worked inwards to almost, I won't say perfect, because there's even the best 760Li BMW is flawed because it's made by humans, but they got really, really freaking good at it.
They did.
At a very good price point. Interesting times.
It's a brilliant time to be alive. So one of the things Autotrader is going to do in the next couple of months, actually the next couple of weeks, is we're going to expose consumer reviews to the front end of our platform.
Ooh. Behavior.
Okay. So what we've done so far is we've spent the last probably, and we do this all the time, we spend 1, 2, 3 years. I think we spent over 3 years perfecting price ratings before we made it public. We do what we call a dark launch. Dark launch means the dealer can see it, the consumer can't.
Yeah.
So at the moment, we're in the dark launch phase of ratings and reviews. And then we get dealer feedback. We see how it's used. We see what the result might be, and then we put it in the public domain. So we did that with price ratings. And I think we did an okay job.
Brilliant job. Even though you kicked me in the balls like big time.
I think you were one of the dealers that were kicked in the balls the heaviest, to be honest. I came here with like, Bobby, I need to tell you something. Here's your chart. Can I run?
That was the best thing that could ever happen to me, because it took me from a one-trick pony. This is my strategy. We are the most expensive with the lowest mileage and the best spec, irrelevant of price. It doesn't matter.
To be honest with you, mine and Bobby's relationship really kicked off.
Yes, when you kicked me in the balls.
When I kicked him in the balls.
Yeah. Like, this guy means business.
Because I had to come and face him, telling him that he's one of the dealers most affected.
I think most affected, not one of the.
Yes.
We were the most affected.
By our price rating. Negatively affected because
on face value.
On face value, because your perception was that you had to reduce the prices of your cars.
Yes, which was not entirely true.
But which was not entirely true, because a lot of them had, I think the misunderstanding was that you wanted them out of the red, and we were trying to tell you, don't take them out of the red.
Correct, yes.
Because they're justified. Maybe some of them, but
some of them weren't.
Yes.
Anyway,
so on to ratings and reviews. So we've built ratings and reviews as Autotrader to be a dealer reputation management tool. Okay. And as a platform, we have to walk this fine line between supply and demand, dealership and consumer that buys cars. So we've built it as a dealer reputation management tool, but also to create transparency around ratings and reviews about a dealership.
This is very exciting. If you're a consumer and you visit Autotrader regularly, which is 10 million plus unique visitors a month, 10 million.
12 million visits a month.
12 million visits. So this affects you. At one other stage, you've been on Autotrader, whether you're top of funnel or ready to pull the trigger now. Most people are towards the ready to pull. This is so exciting. If you're on the side of a consumer looking to buy a vehicle, there's nothing more exciting happening currently in automotive than this, in my opinion.
It is. It's a milestone. Like price ratings was a milestone. This is a milestone.
It's even bigger, in my opinion.
I've got some other bigger milestones that I'm not going to talk about on camera now.
Okay.
But it's coming. It's coming. And
what do you call those things that the cricket players use? A ball box. Should I go fetch one?
No.
Okay, cool.
It turns out to be good.
Okay. Cool.
So dealer reputation management. So this feature and feature set is designed to help dealers improve their reputation with consumers, improve their brand with consumers. If you currently have a shit reputation as a dealer, there's going to be a spotlight on shit reputation. If you have a good reputation, there's going to be a spotlight on good reputation. Okay? It's just going to highlight what really is. Okay? And what we've done is this dark launch that I was talking about. So it's in the back end at the moment. And in the last month, we've released the ability for you as a dealership to see who the consumer is, because we didn't have that in the first iteration of the dark launch. And then secondly, to engage with that consumer. Okay, so we've done in the last month in order to rectify any 1, 2, 3 star ratings and reviews. So the importance of focusing on ratings and reviews as a dealership is high, because it will come to the public domain in December. Now, I've seen you in your dealership go from a 3.5 star rating out of 5.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I think you were on 4.6.
4.6. I'll be on 4.7 by the end of business tomorrow.
4.7 by the end of business tomorrow. So that's in about a 6-week period.
Correct.
Yeah. In about 6 weeks, Mid-Mac Motors has gone from 3.5 rating to a 4.6. Will be on 4.7 soon. Okay. No help from Autotrader. This has all been Mid-Mac Motors. Now, 3.5 is average to okay.
Yeah.
To a winner, it's bad.
Horrible. Like, do I cut this way or this way? What's more effective? That's how I see it.
So a couple of things I wanted to kind of pick your brain on the importance of. The first is the importance of responding to bad reviews. Have you had bad reviews?
Yes, of course.
Okay. How do you deal with them?
So a bad review for me is hyper exciting, because I see it as a really open, transparent consultation with an expert. Okay, that's how I see it. I'm very excited. A 1 star, a 5 star is like, cool, we're doing our job, we are maintaining, and our systems, processes work, everything's cool. But
Do you ever feel that a 5 star is stop blowing smoke up my ass because
no,
they must be able to improve somewhere?
no.
Okay.
So no, I don't see it that way. And I'll explain why. But I'll first touch.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Good.
No.
Do 1 star.
1 star is,
And the review that goes with 1 star, because you can't get like 1 star, but you're great.
yes. Sometimes old people write the most beautiful review and give you 1 star. I'm like, well, what must I do to get a 2 star from you? Like, I've done everything yours. Imagine 2 star. Can I maybe walk on water for you and film it? Yeah. So anyway, a 1 star, hyper exciting. We have failed. There's a leak in our system, and I go to, is it a process or a person? Because if it's a person...
Okay, so your first step is it a process that's at fault here, or did somebody screw up?
Yeah. Process or person, because it can't... Sometimes it's both, most times it's one.
Not, yeah.
And doing this for such a long period of time, for us, it's almost always a person. Always a person.
So most of the time you're finding it's a person that has dropped the ball.
Yeah. Whether it's a speakie or mostly speakies or whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, I get to have a one-on-one consultation with a absolute expert that's going to give me critical feedback, and I'm going to put my ego next door. I'm going to red face, hat in hand. So we failed you, ma'am, we failed you. My deepest apologies. Can you give me details around how we failed you? And if you were, and this is a line I use, able to wave a magic wand and make this whole thing disappear, how would you do it? And what would you improve if you had the ability to do 3 steps? What would you do first, second, third, so that you guide me into improving? And I don't ask them to remove the review. This is key. So anybody in the motor industry...
Okay, why is it key not to remove a review? Because you can...
Not yet.
A dealer
Not
can't remove a review. You can only ask them to remove it or edit it.
Yes, not yet.
Yes.
So initially, if someone is so upset and takes time, which is the most valuable asset we own, to go and write a review and express their frustrations, the first thing they want to do is be heard, acknowledged. Somebody needs to take responsibility. That somebody always is me. I found the 1-star reviews myself. Me. I found you. Okay? Where did we fail you? What is the magic wand going to wave and achieve in the next 3 steps? So I want this person to say sorry, whatever the scenario is, whether it's a written apology, a phone call, video, whatever it is. I would like a spare key because I was promised a spare key. Now there's no spare key. Let's take the spare key because I've got some practice with spare keys. Yeah, our systems are now airtight. We take photos from the time the buyer buys the vehicle with the 2 keys, when it arrives at the depot, as it moves around, spare keys are photographed. We know.
I must tell you, and just sideshow on spare keys.
Yeah, okay.
I've sold a few cars in my lifetime.
With the spare keys in your safe.
Where the spare key's still at home. And the dealer doesn't ask me for the spare key.
Fast 1-star reviews. Probably.
Yes.
But
I've taken them every time. It's like, oh shit, got the spare key.
Guess what?
And then the consumer's already got the car. It's like, they'll deliver the spare key to the consumer.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. So very important not to ask for that review to be removed. Hyper important.
why?
You want that consumer to be heard.
Okay.
Somebody takes ownership. So it's a sequencing game with ratings and reviews.
Okay.
It's very important. And why I say Autotrader bringing this rating system on the platform is the best thing for the consumer is because until now, you didn't have a reference point. So where did you have to go? Off-site to Hello Peter.
Or Facebook.
So Hello Peter, we've been number 1 for 5 years in a row. And the challenge with Hello Peter is when that consumer is pinning me up against the guy across the street, he doesn't really go and do both researches. He'll do one, looks okay, where on your platform, where the consumer is
in the funnel.
Bottom funnel, ready to buy, because that's where we get the lead from,
Yes.
and it converts high. We are now able to compete on reputation, which is something that you can't buy.
Yeah.
You can't buy reputation. If you have a 300 million rand dealership in Sandton selling Ferraris and Lambos out of Pretoria North, we will whip your ass because we care about our customers. No offense to anyone in Sandton with a 300 million, but I'm not afraid of you. Neither is the small husband and wife rand dealership on the West Coast that also cares about their customers. At the end of the day, the consumer wants to have a great experience and wants to understand that the person I'm investing my hard-earned cash with is someone that will take care of me if there's a problem.
So can I ask whether the following plays into another reason why not to remove reviews or to ask the consumer to remove reviews?
No, we do ask. Not yet, though.
No. So I have a reason why it should never be removed.
Okay. We can debate that.
We can debate that. My argument is never ask for a negative review to be removed. The reason is it gives you brand equity for future consumers. Why? Because if I'm a consumer searching to buy a car and I see, this consumer gave Bobby or Mitmac a 1-star review and said that it was a shit dealership because they promised a spare key and I haven't got the spare key. Okay. Now what I'm interested in is how did Mitmac resolve that problem?
Mm-hmm.
I'm more interested in how because everybody screws up.
Yeah.
You want to see as a consumer how the dealership dealt with that problem. And for me, that's a reason not to remove the review, is so that future consumers can very clearly see, you know what, there's peace of mind there. Even if something goes wrong, this dealership deals with it quickly, they deal with it decisively, and they resolve the problem.
So do you want the 1 star to remain and then get re-rated
again
on the same? How will we link them up though?
No, they are linked up.
So they'll be linked up.
Yes.
So on the 1st of November, you receive the 1 star because you didn't have a spare key.
Yes.
And then on the 12th of November,
he
re-rated me to 5 star, 4, 3, whatever the case might be. You were efficient and sorted my problem.
Yes.
I like it.
So that there is conflict resolution and maybe even more importantly, how quickly the dealership responds.
I like it.
Because we're also going to introduce at some point a tortoise or a hare.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Whereas if you respond in 7 days, you'll be a tortoise.
Okay.
If you respond within an hour, you might be a hare.
Okay.
And that's important to consumers because you don't want to sit there, I gave this review and 7 days later, I like I'm in the dark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Currently what we do is in terms of sequencing. So we've got, me and you have spoken intensively about it. We've got shifts that answer reviews until 10 p.m. at night every day, including Sundays. Somebody is responsible to handle a customer complaint or a customer, raving about us, a fan, until 10 p.m.
Yes.
Every day, 7 days a week, including Christmas, New Year's, every single day, somebody responds. That's how we were able to maintain 5 years in a row, number one in automotive. But now, the sequencing is the following. I speak to you, you shout at me, I speak you, whatever the problem is. You vent, not shout, vent. I acknowledge fault. So, okay, I've been heard. Makes sense. The sequencing then happens to be the person that's going to take ownership of achieving the desired outcome will phone you and say, okay, great. Got a call from Bob's. Just want to confirm that he didn't miss anything. You were upset about the spare key. And this is the communication and screenshots that the salesperson gave you. Thank you very much. We will definitely help him with training or whatever, keep him accountable, whatever that internal process is. Can I please give you a timeline? I've already got a quotation from Ford. It will take 5 working days to get the kit. It needs to be programmed. We're going to inconvenience you to fetch the car, program the car, etc., etc. Are you comfortable with the path I've laid out?
It's transparency.
Customer says yes. Okay, great. Before I hang up, may I ask you to do me a favor? And the favor is the following. I would love a re-rate of your experience for me, because we take ownership. I'm going to give you a timeline and commit. So would you mind removing the review and re-rating me based off of the experience after you've shown us our weakness? Thank you very much, by the way, for showing us our faults. Would you mind? If the customer says yes, then they re-rate us. If the customer says no, it is what it is. Keeps it there, will still follow through with commitments. But the sequencing, if I ask you to remove it in the beginning, you'll say, okay, the only reason you're asking me to remove it because it negatively affects your reputation, not because you acknowledge fault,
yes,
and you are actively taking steps into improving your process,
yes,
or giving your person training. This process or person.
Or person, yeah.
You haven't really identified what the issue is. You just want that review removed so that it doesn't negatively reflect your reputation.
Well, I mean, I know that if you, as Mitback, get a 1-star rating, that will always impact your ratings, whether the consumer gives you a new review or not.
Yes.
So that 1 star will always be in your data.
Even if it's removed?
Well, it never gets removed.
Okay, got you. So
always in the system.
Autotrader system, it will always be a 1 star.
Yes.
But then you have a
re-rate it. Yes.
Okay. I didn't know that.
So the consumer can re-rate you.
Okay.
That then counts positively towards you.
So
but the negative never goes away.
They almost cancel each other out. And then what's a massive win is you've been shown a leak in your system, whatever that leak is.
And you've neutralized the problem, even in the data, because the one cancels the other one out. So here's another concept, and I'd love to hear your view. Okay. And also ratings and reviews. And that is, in most instances, consumers will complain before they will compliment, or they will complain but not compliment. Most consumers are like that.
I don't think it's a consumer problem. I think, again, it's a sequencing problem from the dealership.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about a dealership like yours that actively asks the consumer.
Okay.
So in a world where you don't ask the consumer to rate or review you, you don't necessarily. So when you bought your phone, positive experience, would you naturally go onto Apple's website and review the phone if you're having a good experience? No, likely not.
Okay.
As a general consumer. Maybe we're different individually. But if you had a crap experience at the iStore in Sandton,
immediately vent.
You're going to go vent. It's going to be on Twitter. It's going to be somewhere. Okay. So would you agree with me that consumers generally will find a place to vent before they find a place to compliment?
Agree, 100%.
They'd put in the effort to vent. Okay. So therefore, naturally, as a dealership, if you go and look in your back end right now, and you've done absolutely zero on this principle, you're going to have a relatively bad rating.
Yes.
The reason you've got a bad rating isn't because you're a generally bad dealership. It's because you haven't put in the effort to get the consumers who are having a good experience, which might be the vast majority, to go and give you the good part of what your dealership's doing. Okay? Because you've left the negative element, which is the minority, to your fate.
3.5.
3.5.
Versus 4.7.
Exactly. So my question to you is, how do you see encouraging consumers to go and rate and review their experience in your dealership? And in my opinion, it's not manipulating the system. It's just bringing the 50% that's not there to the table.
What do I think of it? Or how can I, how as a strategy, how do dealerships deploy the strategy? So that
what is the best way to bring that other 50% of the consumers to the table? First of all, do you think it's the right thing to do? Which I think I'm going to know the answer to. And then second of all, why and what are the things that a dealership can do?
My favorite quote, it's not how, it's who. And what is your intention for your dealership? Is it a lifestyle maintaining, lifestyle sustaining business, a cash cow? Or is it something that you really put massive amounts of effort in and try to grow and try to expand and try to empower and get everybody on board towards the mission of 5-star? What is the intent of your dealership? If it's a cash cow, I just want to sell cars, make money, not worry about my customers all that much. I like driving a very nice fancy car and staying in an estate and owning a 4 million rand house. Well, it's at the expense of the consumer. And for the longest time, I've subscribed to this channel, and I know short term it's made me very little money compared to what it could have made me, but I know long term it's not even comparable. It's going to be, it's not even in the same league. If you put your consumer first, always, you will have the opportunity to do this, which I love doing, until I die. I'll do this until I die if I put the consumer first. So is it the right thing to do to go and solicit reviews from your consumers? Absolutely. Now, everything's a risk. Not soliciting reviews from consumers on Autotrader's website until this point has been a relatively low risk because there's no reward or
there's no visibility.
There's no visibility.
You just know.
You just know. Other platforms, Yes, there's a website you can go and search. Okay, this person takes care, they respond in time, whatever. I view every single consumer that walks through the door or makes a call or sends a lead as a consultant. In the sequencing game, who does that customer speak to first? Who does he speak to second, or she? Who does he or she speak to third, fourth, fifth? Normally it's 3 people, 4 people max that they engage. Which one of those 4 people is exceptional? For me, very important. First, to have to be exceptional. So a call center agent that gets the lead, that qualifies you, make sure that we have you on the right vehicle, on the right product, and then it gets passed to the salesperson. The second person you speak to has to almost walk on water, because that is the moment that you either do business with us or don't. That's where the biggest breakaway happens. Now, if I take my ego and wear it on my sleeve when I call that person, or the team that calls all the leads, and we become very emotional and we take everything as personal, then, I would have been grayer, and, I would have found a way, sideways or downways. Don't do that. What you need to understand is each review reveals a leak or an opportunity to improve, or allows you the opportunity to give praise to the people that have touched your customer. So first person was great, second person couldn't speak my language. Okay, is this a process or a person issue? That's where I go. All right. The other dealers that you spoke to, were they able to help you in the language that you preferred? Yes. Okay, cool. Person 1 has to give person 2 this lead in the preferred language. That, by the way, I've been dealing with a lot lately. That's why I'm mentioning it. That's the level of detail we go into to make sure that the first 3 people that touch the customer leave a good positive mark, because we're competing against 6 to 8 other dealerships. So if I can get this granular, as refined as I possibly can, the first 3 people eliminate the other 5 or 7 dealers completely. It's not even, this is Premier League, First Division. Now, how do I get there? By asking consumers to review us. Was your experience with person 1, 2, and 3 excellent? Yeah, it was okay. Person 3 was a bit off. How can we improve? What did he or she say? How can we get better at this? And this is the best part. Dealerships leave it till the end. And this is me really lifting up my skirt, like skirt out the way. You can see everything. Don't do that. Solicit the review up front, because the moment you sequence number 1 person correctly, check. Number 2, check. Number 3, check. By the time it gets to the 3rd person that touches your customer, the experience for almost everybody is a 5-star experience. The chances of you retaining that customer at that moment are very high. Whereas if you're only asking people to review you after they've purchased the car, the bigger dealerships doing 100, 120 cars a month are maybe going to get 70, 80, because some people blatantly refuse. I don't want to be on social media. I don't want to have my name anywhere. Your service was great. I can send you a voice note. I'm not reviewing you. You get that a lot, especially in the sort of older generations. Young people is like, what else do you need? You need my credit card. What else? Young people don't care. Yeah. DNA, whatever. If the person says, listen, that is as valuable as the one that will remain in your data point forever. But each and every consumer you ask for a review is a consultant that gives you critical and honest feedback, especially when done on the phone. In person, quite different. The interaction in person is, the dynamic is a lot more in your favor, because the guys there, normally people are good, unless you've really messed it up somewhere. But people are like, yeah, this is cool. Especially the salesman standing next to it. Did he treat you well? Yeah, he's cool. He's good. And, you almost con him into giving you a review while he's there.
Yeah.
99% of our reviews are after the interaction has taken place, a third party phones, and you're already at home or wherever you are at work, you can really be honest and say, this is how I feel, and this is the win or this is the loss that you've experienced.
I love the way you put that. So getting the positive reviews to the table, because that was my original question, getting the positive reviews to the table is not only about getting your rating up, but about understanding who in your dealership you can give credit to.
Yeah,
because that's the one fundamental thing I took out of what you said.
And also encouraging the negative ones. The negative ones are really welcome. Like, tell me where we screwed up.
Because then you can improve.
Yeah, person, process. Initially, it was only process, but I didn't know that I had to do this. Now, over time, we've built a community, we've built camaraderie, we train together, we do lots of stuff together. So now it's the person, dude, you screwed up. I mean, did you know you have to do this? Yes. Fuck, I'm sorry. Okay, how do we fix this?
Yeah.
What did the client want? Well, the client wants this. Geez, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
To the point where now a salesperson that gets a 1-star, one of the buyers got a 1-star yesterday. And he comes to me. He's red in his face because I hadn't seen it yet. He's like, dude, I'm sorry. I'm like, about what? What did you break? He's like, read here. I'm like, geez, how? He's like, I don't know. I'm so sorry. I said, how do we fix it? He says, well, I don't know. Phone the customer. What is the expectation? This, shouty, I'm sorry, sir. Can we meet the expectation in this amount of days? Yes. Would that make you happy? Yes. Okay, cool. Sort it out.
Done. Yeah.
But rather than another no skirt moment, rather than that being hidden from you, it's encouraged to be brought forward.
Yes.
So where did you screw up? I screwed up here. I'm like, I can't believe I screwed up here. I'm like, fuck, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So it's the bad feeling comes from the person that caused it, amplified, rather than I have to now deal with a frustrated customer. I'm dealing with a frustrated customer, and the guy that caused it is as frustrated.
Yeah.
And that type of culture is we've worked hard to get it there.
So that's an interesting concept, is that a consumer doesn't have to only review your dealership once. You can have a consumer review your dealership at every stage of the sale.
Yes.
First interaction, second interaction, pre-delivery, F&I, delivery, and post-delivery.
It's not only you screwed up and that's it.
Yes, it's not one review. So you're getting multiple reviews from the same consumer, probably different starred ratings for different processes and people in your business.
That's a good point. That I didn't know. Learning. That's a very good point. Because now, as a company, you're rating us 5. But if you could critique any stage, because realistically speaking, I've got a very interesting customer that came on Saturday. So I want to share 90 seconds. Comes in, it's an Indian gentleman, but he is jacked. Not as big as your guns, but he's jacked.
I'm trying to hide them.
He's got a wife beater on, and he's got a bicep vein, my friend, the size of like a extension cord. His bicep vein is the size of me. I'm like, geez. I'm like, did you check this guy's license? Anyway, we have a laugh. So he has an interaction with a salesperson, with me. Good interaction. He's buying a car for his son, M235, loves the car. The car's fantastic. Has a average interaction with the F&I because he had to wait a little bit longer than what he should have. Has a horrible interaction with the people that are going to register his son's car because he gave 5 options on special number plates. It's like a number, letter, GP. The guy never got back to him. So interaction 1, good. 2, good. 3, okay. 4, 1 star. But as an entire experience, he's like, you guys are great. Everything that I wanted to achieve has been achieved.
Yeah.
Rates us 4 out of 5. If we could, and I know that specific customer took interest in me because we're talking weight loss and training, and we having banana smoothies there with his wife and his lighty. Uncle Bobby is like, you made me drive here for Uncle Bobby. Take a picture. You Bobby from TikTok. But that specific customer gave me insight to a department that's failing.
Yes.
And
Or a partnership that's failing.
correct. And had I not been there, I can't hold them accountable and get them to improve, demand improvement. Whereas now we can get 5 or 6 ratings, and I didn't know about that feature. This is very good news. I can immediately bump up each and every department by asking honest, critical feedback.
Love it.
Like it.
Love it.
Good.
So, that's been episode 6. Hope you've enjoyed it.
From Trump to 5-star ratings. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, guys. Take care.